All right, thank you for joining us today. My name is Jason Hewitt. I'm with Simply Automate, Director of Marketing, and we're excited that you're here with us. Today, we're going to be covering, I'll give you a quick sneak peek, a number of items, but the first being a bit of background on the RPA industry and why this technology is really going to be touching just about every business. So as you're watching this, know that you're very early in the cycle. In just a bit, Wilton, our CEO, is going to share with you some of the plays or the pitfalls, three or four of the pitfalls that you can avoid during RPA implementation. And then I'm going to turn things over to David, our sales engineer, who's going to talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts with a specific example of how RPA was actually implemented for one of our clients. So I'll give you a little bit of background about our presenters here today. First is our CEO, Simply Automate, Wilton Rogers. He's been in the RPA business for 5 years, and start thinking now ahead of time what your questions might be for him, because I've gotten to see his journey, and he has seen just about every challenge imaginable, not only inside of implementing RPA, but just in growing a business as well. So I challenge everyone to ask questions. You can't stump him. He always has an answer. And then with him on our team is David McKenzie. David is our sales engineer. He wears a lot of hats with Simply Automate. And he most recently finished work with American Family. He's done a lot of RPA work for them. He's the one we go to when we get in the weeds. He goes really deep with RPA, and so he'll be able to shed some light. He's going to take you through a specific example of an implementation we did with one of our clients. And then finally, I want to introduce Dimitri, who is the I almost said CEO, Chief Innovation Officer of Electronique. And Dimitri is, I would say, probably the primary reason that Simply Automate joined up, linked up with Electronique. They have been just tremendous in their support for what we do. We're a gold partner with them. And he's got not just a wealth of knowledge on the technical side of RPA and RPA functionality, but just a very sharp presence when it comes to business acumen as well. So we're going to start by going over to Dimitri here for just a few slides, and then we'll jump to Wilton.
Thank you, Jason, Wilton, David. It's a big pleasure to be, as always, in your events. And I really want to use this opportunity to talk to the audience about the change in phase of automation, or specifically the new phase. And if you can pull out the slides, that would be great. So while we're starting, the Great Resignation. Of course, you've heard about this from media. Maybe you wrote some articles about that. It affects pretty much most of the Western countries and US specifically. And we tend to think about this as a big enterprise problem, as a problem of big corporations and businesses. They have high flow of talent. But in fact, what we see among our clients, among the users of our clients, is that the Great Resignation affected small businesses even more than it affected big companies. Part of the reason is that ability to work remote switches job applicants candidates focused to finding works that have higher value add, and that's impacted the paradigm of automation that is changing, that I want to communicate to you today. So robots will take our jobs. That's a phrase that everybody heard for a while, maybe since childhood. And we expected automations, machines, robots in general, things that augment human labor, to come and take our routine jobs, to destroy them. And it's pretty much always have been seen as a cost reduction effort, because you can spend less on automations than you spend on employing people. It turned out to be quite opposite. It turned out to be that there are many jobs open right now that no one wants to do because they have low share of value add activities in the processes and a higher share of routine. That's why, for example, a lot of call centers that haven't really transformed digitally by 2020 facing a lot of challenges, because to find the same candidates to do the same job, they need to put them into manual form entry, very slow legacy systems. And it's really hard for them to compete for talent. They cannot offer the same what they can offer for a person who is empowered to do more, who has higher share of value add tasks. So robots are needed where humans don't want to do the job. And SMB, small and medium-sized businesses in the States, currently face a lot of labor shortages, and they're looking for any ways to fill in the gap. And that creates a new paradigm for automation. Let's go to the next slide. A paradigm of growth. Why to automate? Not to reduce the costs, but to grow, to have employees who are empowered to do more. And that's a new way how entrepreneurs, and many entrepreneurs already think, and how I want all entrepreneurs and CEOs to think about their business. Think about the processes that you need to do as a base layer of your organization. They do have high value add activities, and they also have routine, something that could be sometimes physical routine, but in a business of my company and Simply Automate, we're talking about cognitive routine that can be automated. Then you have infrastructure layer, it's IT tools, sometimes hardware to do all these jobs. And then you have people who use the infrastructure to execute on the processes. Think about automation as something that is like a pyramid, reduces the need for people by taking all the routine processes and infrastructure that is needed to implement routine processes away. So now you have less people. Does it mean you save on costs? No, you want to grow. And because of that, you essentially would like to get the best talent working for you. You don't want to hire people who other companies rejected to hire. You want to hire people who will enable your growth. For that, you need to pay them more. To pay them more, you need to be able to get out of the processes that require repetitive cognitive routine. And at the end of the day, these technologies already exist in the enterprise. They do their job really well. But in small and medium-sized businesses, technologies like RPA, like machine learning, computer vision, chatbots, different type of interfaces, they will increase the productivity to the level that's never seen before. That's my own prediction in the next 8 years. I mean, it started in 2020, pretty much accelerated a lot. We will see an unprecedented wave of automation in small and medium-sized companies, driven by entrepreneurs who put automation in a growth bucket of mentality, not the cost reduction. So let's go to the last slide. Just to sum up what you just said, people are the main asset and culture is the main asset. And you want to have the best people and you want to pay them more than other entrepreneurs do. And to compete for talent, business owners and CEOs are required, they have to increase productivity for these people. Otherwise, they will be obsolete. And as IT tools become more and more complex, and there are many more, the number of IT tools required to do the work is growing. Take a look at how many services and IT tools an average small business uses in the States. I think it's 30 plus, because they're great tools for each process, but they're not integrated. And sometimes these tools are not so great. So integration, automation becomes the paradigm that has the paradigm of growth. And that's where you can achieve the maximum productivity gains, even not through the process redesign. I think in small businesses, there's a lot of rationale to the processes be implemented and we do things when it's really necessary. That's in enterprise, it could be different. So it's all about maximizing the productivity on your existing processes without changing the IT infrastructure. And we will see today a few examples of where that really produces the outcomes that's hard to imagine when you realize that what my colleagues do here is it's pretty impressive that by automating just some routine, you can improve the efficiency of the whole industry. So let's take a look. Thank you.
Awesome. All right, let me go ahead and share my screen there. Uh, Jason, thank you. Let me see. All right. Okay, see my screen okay? All right. Dimitri, thank you. You touched on so many good parts. I mean, just powerful points in those three presentations. I mean, from our experience, knowing what RPA has done and how it's really improved businesses by allowing these businesses to their employees to be able to do more productive tasks and bring more value to the company has been a game changer. So you're right. I think that was when we first got involved. When I first in this industry, I heard a lot about that, but it's been totally different. And the morale of companies, which we'll go into later, David will dive in a little bit later on a company we're working with, that you see that difference and you see what these employees are able to do now, and to be able to the ability to scale so fast. So thank you for sharing that. That was very powerful. And thank you guys. Thanks for the introduction, Jason. Appreciate it. I'll tell you a little bit about myself, Jason, sort of to give you some background on who we are and what we do. And so I want to give you background on why in the heck you should even listen to what we're saying. Like Jason was saying, I've been in the industry since 2017, but I was more on the enterprise level. But at the time, I had the small business mindset because I've always owned small businesses. But I at this time I knew that this is a service that was only really penetrating the large enterprise. And I was just always trying to figure out ways to figure out how to tap into a market that really needs it. Because I mean, if I had it when I was owning my business, it would have been a game changer. So through the years, I just didn't see that opportunity, but I've met a lot of people along the way, a lot of developers, a lot of analysts, just a lot of resources that that allow me to sort of see the value, see how much we can, how many people really see a need for this as well as I did. And so I became more of a resource. And when I talked to businesses, it was more finding out what they needed prior to than trying to sell a software, saying, hey, here's a software, we can do this, because there was limitations. So for me, it was making sure that I understood the client first and their vision, and from their budget to the capabilities to the understanding the whole bit. So it was, after having thousands and thousands of conversations, there was a huge gap between people really knowing, people not knowing, people that really knew really didn't have all the pieces that they needed to make a true impact in what they were doing, and those that didn't know anything but needed it. So I decided, hey, you know what? I need to build a resource sort of center with a development team that can back up what's available out there. So we became more of a resource and a development firm that sort of came out of nowhere, I guess you could say. And a big part of that was because we teamed up with partners like Electronic to be able to give us the opportunity to tap into a market that no one was, I won't say being ignored, but it hadn't been penetrated yet. And no one had figured out that code. And Electronic came along and was able to allow us to do that. So we became more of a resource center. That way, people that are on certain, even if they're working with certain software, we can go in there and figure out which is the best way to work on it, or if it's another program another software they need to go to get the full value. So being able to do that, work on unstructured data, which is huge for us, be able to partner with partners to be able to understand how to, minimize those type of processes. So, it was really to bring our experience in the resources and the teams and the contacts that I had to be able to minimize the error for people that want to work on, understand, and start deploying RPA. So that's a little bit about why I started Simply Automate. And just as you see, we have a team that sort of just took it from there and just took it to a whole different level. So very blessed to have that team now. One thing I did want to touch on is, I think a lot of people don't have a clear understanding of what RPA really is. And for us, we see a big gap in the SME, the medium-sized enterprise, small enterprise, and also small businesses, the mid-market and small market. So for us, it was really trying to bridge that gap and figure out where they were. So so we try to figure out, everybody has a problem, and we want to figure out those problems. So now we sort of understand from any aspect on what problem, where they're at and where they need to go. So we all know the problem is a lot of manual work. In fact, I think right now 30%, at least 30% of businesses today have manual work that they're doing currently that can be automated, right now. We're seeing more of this 50 to 80% from what we're doing. We're seeing a big jump in that, but we know that every company we talk to, there's opportunity to automate, to improve their processes right away. And of course, the solution is RPA. And Dimitri touched on a real important topic as far as the people and the automation. And what we found out is I was always taught, improve this process first, make sure that they understand that, make sure we have a clear process, and then we automate it. And I saw there was a huge delay, like weeks, months, sometimes forgotten delay, just because people didn't have the time to really put into trying to figure out a solution to make that better. And so I just took it upon myself to a couple of clients and say, you know what, let's just automate your processes. Like, if you have processes that work, let's automate them. Work with the grocery store right now. And I think they're on the 6th process. And all we did was find a process that they want to automate. And we automated. And then within the automation, after it's automated, we took hours and hours and hours away from these employees. And they were doing other things immediately. And then we went back in there and we start improving the process. Now that it's automated, how can we improve it, right? Instead of having to improve it first. And we've seen a huge difference in being able to get processes automated for this client. It's a pretty big, I think they have multiple stores. And they're just, I know they have thousands of invoices and different things coming every single day. So it's pretty big. But long story short is we were able to say, let's automate it. It's working right now. Let's automate it, pull the sheets back and figure out, okay, where can we improve this? And it's been a game changer. So RPA is a solution to be able to improve your company and able to do more within your own organization, like take advantage of the AIs of the world, the machine learning and things like that. So there's a lot of technology out there that can be utilized in RPA, just that glue, like Dimitri was saying earlier. So it's those are the things that we know we've seen, and we found a solution to be able to bridge that time and that delays and get them into implementation right away. So it's been big. And I think one of the big power plays is knowing the market, knowing where the market is going, understanding what's happening, and being prepared for it. Very people are prepared. I've been doing talks for a long time, for years and years, and more and more you're starting to see more interest. But prior, it was just that people weren't interested. So we didn't see a whole lot of opportunities for service. And if this is a experts, this is a research that came out probably in 2019. And this was, and I got involved where you say, when we were $192 million industry. But I started seeing the opportunities. I started seeing new players come in, new opportunities for some services. And then all of a sudden, when I started getting involved, I was like, okay, it seems a little bit faster than what was projected. Then COVID hit. And it really just sort of changed the game completely. Experts at this time were saying by 2028, the RPA industry is going to be I think $14 billion in 2028. After the pandemic, us included, which we'll share here shortly, that's totally changed. And if you see, if I go back to this one, you see right here, it's the light blue is a service, whereas the purple is a software, right? So people buy the software, but they still need the service. So there's two elements to RPA that are very important to understand. So now there's a big switch. This just came out last week from Forrester, and and we saw the climb. In fact, I was on a podcast about a month or two ago, and they were talking about the experts saying this, and I remember saying, it's moving faster for us. We just see a bigger change. I see that it's still growing fast from what they projected, but it's moving a lot faster, especially in the service, because people are wanting service because they have the information, they know, they're starting to understand it, but they don't have the resources and knowledge to be able to put it all together and do it fast. So we saw a big jump in that in that aspect. And then this new data came out and backed us up. And it shows that how fast this industry is going in the next 4 years, 3 years. In the next few years, it's going to be $22 billion, and we see it, and we're in the middle of it. And most of it right now, a lot of people are more they want the information. How does it work? They need the resources. They need that trusted resource they can go to get a better understanding to help them in what they're doing. So we're starting to see a lot of that. So that's been a big change. In fact, excuse me. In fact, for us, these are what we've done and been able to do over the last few years. I literally started the company in 2019, didn't see much. It was just starting to put the pieces together. The pandemic hit, we got a few clients on. And then the last year, it just sort of took off. We were able to get, I think, 17, 18 new clients. And we did over 100 processes. And again, there you go. Here it is again, where you see the blue and the orange. The blue is the client and the processes. So we're starting to see a huge jump in the process, right? So that's sort of what happened for us. So that made a big difference as far as being able to say, okay, focus on the client and their needs instead of really focusing on particular software that we can work on that fits the client. It fits the client's needs because of the service. And it sort of just took off from there. And let me go back to this slide. I missed a slide. I'll stay on this one. But this year, what we're starting to see opportunity to be in the 50 to 60 new clients this year. This year alone. And the service is growing up to over 200 new processes, right? So we're starting to see people are starting to pay more attention, want to know more information about it. And once they implement one, it just takes off. I mean, we're seeing them implement one after another. And David will dive a little bit more on that here shortly. And, another big, so I want to share the growth with you. So the growth is really important to understand where you're sitting. So right now you're early in the game. To really understand how to take advantage of this. And it's not about going out there and trying to purchase something right away. It's getting a clear understanding of take a pause and figure out what I need for my company, who I need to go to give me those resources so I can understand it better, and then take that approach on what you need to do. So that's what we're starting to see right now, and that's the most important part. And the education part, the most, besides the growth, is the education. Education, understanding how it can help your business directly is important. Every client we've talked to, I've had thousands and thousands of conversations. Some of them you can say are pretty much the same, but the mindset and the thought process and the logic behind it is different. So when you're talking to one client, a client may click and the other one may not click. So really getting educated on as much as you can, and so you can start identifying this is important. You need to define, really get that vision and figure out how you want to approach this as a company goal. Where does this sit in what we're doing? Do we have a lot of manual processes we can look into? And if so, find someone that can help you. Become a student and be able to find someone that can help you understand how to basically put those pieces together. And then once you do that, build a team. Build a team not only on your side, but on the partnership side that you're talking to, so you can have some real clear, clean communication. And that's so important because from experience, we see the delays coming because of communication, not because of anything else. It's because, some people aren't as bought in as the others, and someone don't take the value as much, or don't have as much information, or don't understand as much. So there's a big gap. Once you can fix that and have a clear communication on how to go from A to B and B to C, it's the process is smooth. And it doesn't matter how complex the process is either. And then, of course, finding the right process, the right technology to help you, what you need to do, and make sure that you have a partner that can really implement it, that you're trusted, that can really implement it. So education is important. And of course, the last one I think the power fit plays is use experience and resources. Like, honestly, people come in here, I won't say come in here, we talk to people that have done their own research and they're getting pieces from pieces and pieces and pieces. And it's like, we have to show them that there's so many moving parts to RPA implementation that get lost, and they affect the process at the beginning, or they'll affect it later. They could affect it by price, time, by people. So it can really change by picking the right partner and working with them directly. You'll have a clear picture on what you need to do with RPA, a real clear picture. Take their experience and what they've done. For example, I'm going to use us as an example. We've had thousands of mistakes that we've made, and errors that we've done, and opportunities that we've lost because we weren't prepared for the unexpected. And we've gone through a lot of unexpected. So using other people's experience to better set yourself up to be successful is important. So don't do this alone, because there's so many moving parts to this. Just go out there and start doing some research. And of course, spend time with yourself understanding the resources, obviously we talked about earlier, and then invest time to build a relationship with that partner. So when you start doing one and you start understanding it, you start trusting them, start looking at other processes. You should already have one or two other processes in lined up, because now you start seeing by eliminating these tasks are going to help our company moving forward. And you've already developed a partnership with a vendor or with an RPA developer or software, to where you can go back and say, okay, I feel comfortable moving forward with them. Now we can invest more time and energy into this, so we can get these things taken care of. So those are very important topics to really understand. The rest of RPA, which they will show you here shortly, is important as well. But on a business end, those are the things you need to look at. Now on the technical and the business end, those are the things you need to sort of prepare yourself with. And what I did is, and I'm showing this right here, our RPA playbook. What happened was, because of having a lot of experience talking to different people at different levels of RPA, it was hard for me to talk to one person and talk to another person, even if they were sitting in the same room, because their understanding was different. So I created a playbook to sort of, help with that. So wherever you are in your RPA journey, you can grab this playbook and sort of read from that point and sort of help you along the way. So, you can go to the website right there and it'll just download. It's a free download. So you can go there and just download it. And it's, but it walks through and it has all the resources on there as well. So little resources that you can look into and to at least have those conversations would definitely help out. So feel free to download that book. That sort of goes over everything that we touched on a little bit today in more detail, that you can do it on your own time. And then of course, the last one is the keys. Oops, let me go down back. Is the key takeaways. Before I hand it over to David, is make a move now. Get to the educational move, not the buying move. Get educated on how it can help you. If you're already purchasing, still educate on how you can use it even more. Okay, the faster you deploy, the faster you're going to be able to eliminate those jobs. But it also price and demand. We see it going up, and you're in a really good position right now to take advantage of this before it becomes one of these hot commodities where everybody's going to be wanting it, because it's headed that way right now. And we see that trend. And of course, the next takeaway is that build that partnership with a strategic partner. Put time in learning RPA for your business. And of course, if you need more resources, take a look at the RPA playbook. So now I'd like to pass it on to David. David, I know you're going to talk about a couple of clients, but before he talks about the client, I'll just sort of tell you that we were able to, this client we've been working with a few months, and they've already gone from, I think we just finalized their third process, and they already have 3 or 4 more lined up. And that's how fast once they understood the opportunities, that they were able to move on this. So I'll let you take it from here, David.
Awesome. Thank you for the awesome introduction, Jason. Just want to thank Dimitri and the Electrony team for having us on today and letting us explain like our RPA journey. Very fortunate to have met Wilton throughout my RPA journey. Again, just a little background, was an RPA analyst and developer at American Family for the better part of 5 years. Did various financial RPAs and just got to learn from some of the best in the industry while I was there. I was asked to present a client process that we've done. I specifically am very passionate about real estate investing. So selfishly, I picked a real estate one. I have a lot of connections in the area, and fortunate enough that a really good friend of mine was in a really big need for some automated processes. So the one I'm going to highlight today is what's known as the tenant renewal process. Some very cool things about this is it happens monthly. If you're a professional real estate company, in order to stay competitive in the market and increase those rents, you need to send out a renewal. This renewal happens anywhere from 60 to 90 days before any lease expires. All right. So here's the problem, right? It's a very manual and tedious process. There are automation softwares out there that help property managers manage data, but that's all they can do. They can't talk to other systems like DocuSign, Excel. They can't upload charges automatically. They can't contact the tenants. That's where RPA will come and fill the gap, right? So the agent, in this case, there's about 3 to 4 of them that would spend about 5 to 6 days a month, right? So mind you, 12 times throughout the year they were doing this, anywhere from 4 to 5 hours a day. Okay, absolutely insane, and they can now do it totally automated in 25 minutes. So what's happening, their manual process is they would go into their AppFolio, which is their automated real estate software, download a report to get an entire property directory. They would then filter it on lease dates, figure out anything 60 to 90 days that was coming due, take the current rent, and then analyze it against market conditions and market rent. They would then apply rules and escalators, and then send out a new rent notice. What this would do, this would entail them to put into a templated Word document, tenant name, new rent, and the new dates, and then put it also in DocuSign. So again, each one of these steps is a manual copy and paste, or some type of manual interaction had to happen. They then had to send it out to the tenant and record it. Right. And the reason why they need to record it is if there's follow-up, say the tenant doesn't get it, or they say they haven't signed it, they need to be able to then call or email them back saying, hey, you have a new lease that's coming due. You need to sign this, or your last day of tenancy will be the end of the month. All right. So you can understand how that's a little painful. Now, it took us about 30 days to implement with, working with their team. And this is what the new process looks like automated. I basically took word for word the manual process and crossed out where the bot can create the efficiencies. So again, the frequency is still monthly. The difference is no matter what, the first day of every month, the bot is going to wake up and run this process. You're not waiting for other tasks to be done by your human lease agents. The automated process takes the leasing agent out of the picture until the end, right? So it's logging in AppFolio, it's pulling those reports, it's doing the filtering, it's inputting the rules. So again, a good rule was take current rent versus market rent. If the difference is greater than X%, increase a set amount. And what's beautiful about RPA is it's totally customized to whatever rules the property manager wants. So it would go in, create all of these lease documents. I think in their case, they have about 100 renewals a month. And it would pre-fill all the tenant data, all the rent charges, would then put it in DocuSign, set the signing order, trip the flag to send out every 3 days if they don't respond, and then send an automated email. And here's the really, really, really cool part, is it would then take all of that data, relog in AppFolio, and add the charges, right? So a lot of people are confused, like, okay, they get that RPA can bring data out of the system. What they don't know is the RPA can also put the new data into it on behalf of them. So now this, like I said, I'll go to the ROI, just teaser, right? it now takes 20 minutes for this bot to run, right? Their team of 3 worked 3 to 4 hours a day for 6 to 7 days at the beginning of each month, right? That took 72 hours a month between those 3, the team of 3, right? That's 4,320 minutes a month. And now compared to the bot takes a third of an hour to get this done. That's 20 minutes a month, right? Time savings a client is 71.66 hours back a month that those 3 agents now get to do underwriting, due diligence on a property, acquiring new tenants, tenant follow-up, right? That's an average of $25 an hour in the US, you know, probably equatable to that job. That's $1,800 in savings per month. So the big thing I want to highlight here is these are soft savings. A lot of companies aren't going to go out and fire these 3 people just because of this, right? But what we're doing is we're giving time back, and we're giving the worker the empowerment to, you know, be more efficient, to actually critically think, not do the manual work that they hate coming to work for every single day, right? This is one of 3 processes now that we've automated for them where there is no human touch point. Okay. We've created little intricacies and enhanced the bot where they can specifically flag certain things to do a little more manual calculations. Say it's a single family house and they don't want to treat it like an apartment. Very easy to do. It's very customizable. Okay. So the next thing I wanted to highlight was just a little teaser video. Okay. I'm not sure how well it's going to play on the Google Drive, so I'm just going to go over here. So what this is doing is I took a recording of the entire bot process. You can know that because Electronique's orchestrator and studio is running on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. So this bot is logging in as the bot. It's doing exactly what we just talked about, pulling that report, right? This is all done by the bot, picking all the customized filters right now, bringing all of this down. And so what you're not seeing is you can see it go into Excel, right? It's about to export as Excel. Now, this is where the user interface automation for Electronique doesn't allow us to get a great recording, right? We can't see what's happening behind the scenes in Excel, but trust me, it's creating all those calculations I talked about, finding those new rents for all the tenants, doing all the filtering. Okay, so I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to skip ahead now to 401, excuse me. Okay, so what happened is the bot created all of the Excels. It has created everything as a Word document template ready to be pre-filled in DocuSign. One of the things that the client wanted was now to go upload all of these charges back into AppFolio. So what you're pretty soon going to see the bot doing is it's going to start inputting every single tenant and their new charges, right? Now we're not going to save any on their behalf because this just ran, but you know, next tenant, find their profile, go back down, add it in, it'll add the new GL count, it'll set an end date, and it'll continue to loop through and do this for every single tenant that needs a renewal process. So that, you know, just another step that there's no human interaction. So now after it's done all that, the bot goes into DocuSign, takes this templated form that's already been filled out by the bot, and is going to begin inputting it into DocuSign, right? Now, some beautiful things about DocuSign is you can set the signing order. So we put the tenants first, and then you'll notice that the very last email that's going to be added for this one is going to be the Patriot Properties leasing, okay? So I believe it's going to be this one, Patriot Properties leasing. So everybody has to sign before Patriot Properties has done this, okay? It's just a very, very powerful tool, and I'll show you. Yeah, so this is, again, the bot just navigating, going in, putting in the fields, all would have had been done by a manual process, right? Put the email subject line, the templated email message, right? The reason why I'm pausing this is there's so many times during our automations that people always say, if I had the time, I would love to do this. Something so simple as checking this send automatic reminders and set it to every 2 days was something that this client used to not do because it added 10 seconds to send this out. The bot does it now every single time. Okay. And it's just going to move on to the next one. So I'm just going to stop that. Awesome. So that wraps up our quick presentation of the tenant renewal process. Again, I have the full video. It is on YouTube with a voiceover. Would love to talk to anybody more about it. And, real estate, property management, very much an old man's game. We're just scraping the surface of what's possible with RPA. So I'm going to turn it back to Jason.
Yeah, I'm mute, Jason.
Can we use RPA to unmute myself at the end of these presentations? It's amazing. Every time I watch that, in marketing, we use marketing automation, which us marketers think is pretty cool. But when I look at this and the power that this can provide, it's simply amazing. Another thing that I'll add to what David was just outlining is all this technology has a real impact. I did some work for a company, I was an employee for 4 years, and part of the reason I quit was because part of my job was to spend about an hour and a half a day on manual work, and it drove me absolutely bonkers. So this technology not only can do wonderful things to save just time in terms of cost, but it can save employees, which is in today's market is an incredibly advantageous move. So yeah, thank you. I wanted to open up to questions. We did have one question come through for Wilton here, and that is. Well, there's two questions. The first one being, what should the expectation be in terms of implementing a first process? What have you seen?
The first process I think is a very important process. I think, I can say you can pick a manual process. It doesn't, it really doesn't matter for us. For me, it's finding the right people that are making those decisions, that can understand how it works. What processes do they know that are tedious, that are bottlenecks for their company? Because once they understand, those people understand, oh, it works for this department. Now we can take it over here and work for this department. Whatever the case may be, it's the people that are making the decisions that can take advantage of RPA, but have a process that they know that can be a pilot, or what we call a POC, a proof of concept, right? So they can not only get to see it, see how it works, but they can develop the relationship with a team like us to make sure that we are a credible, development firm that they can work with. So for us, it's more the person than it is the process, and the whatever process that they find a bottleneck, let's sit down and talk about it. So now they can have a better understanding how they can implement it within their own organization.
Great, thanks, Wilton. One more here for you, and that is, and Dimitri, feel free to chime in here because I'd love your perspective on this. But in terms of selecting a firm to work with, what advice do you have?
I can answer that, but I'll let Dimitri answer. I'll finish out, because unless you have anything to add, Dimitri.
Well, can you go first?
Okay. Well, I think I'll put it this way, and this is not a biased decision. It's really not biased. It's just because I've worked with many vendors, and I know most vendors. I know what they're capable of doing. I know their price structure. I know their team. It's so important to really build that relationship with them, not only because of what you're capable of doing, but making sure that you have support on the back end as well because of what we're doing. And a lot of our business, I probably say right now, 90% of our business is electronic, and it's not because it was set out that way. It's just because of who they are, right? And for us, it's like if we ever had an issue with something, there was some stuff that we did on automation anyway. I'll give an example, and we would go back. This was early in the game. We would go back to Dimitri and his team and say, "Hey, guys can't do this. We can't, So I'm telling my team, let's just stay with automation anywhere because they can't do it." And all of a sudden, here they come back and say, "Hey, we have updates, do this," and then like, "Oh, we can switch this over." So, and then that's when I sort of reached out to them and figure out, let me see these guys. Let me see what these guys are really about. I had to understand from their point of view and when I talk to them and see the bigger vision, and then understanding their knowledge, it was just like, okay, these guys are somewhere. So we sort of got involved with them about a year and a half already, and just to see their growth now, what they talked about was reality, right? And in the support, not only in the growth of the company, but it's more of the support and the capabilities and things like that. So, I'm not trying to be biased, but I know for us, when we look at clients, we look at, okay, can they work with electronic first? If it can, we don't go anywhere else because they're capable of doing what we need for our clients, you know. And we, you know, we have some stuff that we've done even with Automation Anywhere, where we work with this thing called the IQ bot. And there's some unstructured data that really we couldn't do a whole lot with, because we couldn't do everything with electronic. But we have workarounds that we partnered up with some ways that it was way less cost effective going this route and continue to and still implement the electronic software, but take advantage of these other tools that we can use as unstructured data. So, you know, I think picking the right partner, software partner, is key, is important. So talking to a resource that understands what partner to pick for is even important. That way you don't put yourself in a hole right away. I hope that answered the question.
You did.
Thank you, Wilton, for the kind of words. I just want to say less about us, but in general about the automation as a business, is a relationship between different parties. I think it's many new entrants to this field, they overestimate technology compared to the relationship component. And I think specifically, if you're a small business and you start to work with an IT service provider on implementing automation, you'd like to have relationships that are based on trust and the feel of care, because you're delegating essentially part of your business processes to someone, and to robots built by someone and supported by someone. And we just realized maybe that earlier than other vendors that in this movement to bring automation and RPA to small and medium-sized businesses, we should focus on human relationships with IT service companies. And we were really, I think, blessed to start working with you very early in your early days. So we were able to develop the relationships over time, and it became something like a culture we want to cultivate globally, not only in relationships with our partners, our customers, but between our customers and their own clients, because this is so important for automation to scale.
Awesome. Thanks, Dimitri. And Wilton, in kind of closing out here, what's the best way if people have additional questions for you and David? You know, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
You know, they can go to our website, simplyautomateinc.com, and just go to contacts, and we get alerted right away. Or they can, I mean, just look under or just email me at wrogers@simplyautomateinc.com, and I think David's is D McKenzie, right, at simplyautomate.com. But those probably be the easiest way. You can find us on LinkedIn. I'm active on LinkedIn. You can send me a message there, but that's a lot easier for you to pop on and do. I check those regularly. So that's probably the best way.
Okay, fantastic. Well, we want to thank everyone for joining us today, and we'll have a recording of this posted on our social. We've got a LinkedIn page that we'll post it to on our website. So in closing, we just want to say thanks for joining us, and if you have questions, get in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you.